In this video here today, we're going to talk about the 7 stages of empire, why it matters to you. Let's go. The 7 stages of empire are the stages that every single empire goes throughout the course of their history. The American Empire, the leading superpower of the world, is no different than all the others that have come before. The Spanish Empire, the Portuguese, the French, the Romans, and on and on and on. This is the most important thing to understand, because if you know this and understand this can guide your future and how to invest and how to position yourselves appropriately for maximum gain going forward, not only in a survival situation, but also in a wealth accumulation. So let's go. Number 1, sound money. All currencies and all empires start with sound money. They always start with something backing them: gold, silver, something of value. Eventually it will be Bitcoin that's backing as an actual primary asset instead of a tertiary, which is a derivative. It's something that's derived from something of value. So you want to invest in primary assets, and you want your currency, the thing you're saving all the time as your wealth builder, to be in a primary asset. This is why all governments start out, all empires start out with an actual sound money. This is very important, this is critical, because when this goes, everything else goes. 1971 is when Nixon took us off the gold standard, and really it was the crux of all our problems. 1971 was a massive, massive time, just over 50 years ago. If you go to a website, WTF happened in 1971, it has a litany of graphs, just 100 different graphs of all the things that have exploded in the number of marriages out of wedlock, the number of abortions, the number of attorneys, you name it. Everything has gone off the rails since we unpegged from gold, and the number of things just keep mounting and adding up over time. This is really key, really critical. So number 1 is sound money. Number 2 is public works. Once you have sound money and you're building up your base of sound money and your wealth continues to grow, then you start building these public works, these infrastructure, entitlement programs, you have welfare, the Great Society, you're building roads and bridges, and you're building highways, you're building all these things that are going to enable your citizens to live maybe a more comfortable life, but also a lavish life, but also just to get by day to day. So this is a really important thing, obviously, because once you have sound money, then you can start growing your wealth, but then you can start layering on things to get by day to day. This is where it gets crazy though, and is kind of like a sub bullet here, is when you layer in entitlement programs and trying to help everyone at any cost in buying votes, entitlement programs. That's when things start to go off the rails. Number 3, massive military. This is when things really start to go off the rails, because now you have a military that you're building on, you're trying to protect all of these things. But that's not the most insidious part. And remember, Eisenhower in his farewell address, he warned us of the military-industrial complex. But the biggest thing is really the next one. You have this buildup, you're trying to get troops, you are tanks, planes, weapons, guns, ammo. You want to do something with that. Number 4 is you're gonna put that to use. We're not gonna watch all of our F-22s and all of our shiny objects just sit there. We gotta put these things to use. By golly, we're gonna go take this military industrial complex, and once you start using that ammo and start practicing and dropping bombs and doing stuff, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy, because now you need to buy more, right? And the revolving door in politics we have that's created by some of these other things, people in and out in the military industrial complex, now you need to feed that beast. So what happens when you're in perpetual war, needing to fund that war? Number 5, we debase the currency. This is where it starts to get fun. We start debasing the currency. By the old days, we used to take out the gold and silver, and they used to put in copper, they used to put in the coin clipping, and they used to clip the coins and make them smaller and smaller, and just transferring wealth, just inflation, cost of things going up, and inflation, the prices of everything going up, transferring the wealth from the society, from the citizens to the wealthy, to the elites, to the ones that own assets. That's key. You have to own assets to get ahead in this society going forward. But the military industrial complex, the politicians, the ones that own a lot of these assets, You have to put yourself on the side of these people in a moral and ethical way. But you start debasing your currency, and right now we have people typing digits, ones and zeros, and just typing them into, so you don't have to print currency anymore. It's just done automatically, ones and zeros, and you can just print more zeros and just type more zeros into existence. We debase our currency, which we're seeing right now. Massive inflation is going to get worse over time because the system is built on inflation. It has to keep inflating, and Ben Bernanke and some of these guys have told us they do not want deflation. They will not let it happen, so they will print into oblivion, transferring all the wealth from the poor and the middle class all the way to the elites, so that way they can keep running things and paying off previous debts. This is where things really start to get out of control. Number 6, we have loss of faith. And we're sitting really at that point now. People are starting to lose faith. China, Russia, people have seen the emperor has no clothes. We're freezing people out of the system, and they're thinking, wait, why would I hold dollars if I can just lose my asset? If I can lose the US dollar, the currency, why would I hold it? Citizens are thinking that. They're buying assets more and more and more. Still, many need to do this, and a lot haven't yet. But you have countries now, you have wealthy, you have just normal citizens all looking at the dollar saying, why am I holding this depreciating, debased asset? It's losing faith. People are losing faith. All fiat currencies are destined to go to zero. All of them have failed throughout the course of human history. It's a confidence game. It's not backed by anything anymore. So as soon as enough people say, you know what, I'm not holding this anymore, then the chickens come home to roost. All the dollars come back home, and then prices really go into hyperinflation. So the loss of faith, we're at the early stages of this right now. People are beginning to lose some serious faith in this system, and where does this lead? Number 7, currency crisis. This is the last thing, and this is the transition. This is the fourth turning. This is what everyone's been talking about recently. A third Bretton Woods, you hear people say, the fourth turning, all these cycles, everything coming together at the end. And this is the most important part, because now we're talking about CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. You hear about SDR, special drawing rights. You're hearing about all these terms, and you don't need to know any of that. All you need to know is that we are in a transition period. The wealth is being transferred, and you need to position yourself on the side of the elites. That doesn't mean being immoral and unethical like a lot of them are, but having Bitcoin, having some gold and silver, physical on hand, having these assets, storing them in your own custody. This is what's going to help buoy you and actually springboard you into the next phase, which will be a different monetary system going forward. So the currency crises are happening. We have a currency crisis, we have currency wars, we have trade wars, which we've all seen. We saw currency wars, you know, really the last 5 to 15 years, 20 years, and then we've had trade wars. We've seen that in the last 5 years, and then you go to hot wars, as Jim Rickards says. So you have currency wars, trade wars, hot wars. Ultimately, a lot of times ends up in world wars. Might not necessarily be physical this time, who knows? We do have war going on in Russia and Ukraine, but maybe it's just cyber attacks, maybe it's pandemics, maybe it's things that are happening that we've already been experiencing, witnessing, as the leader of Russia has already said. World War III will be fought with ones and zeros. Mike Maloney talks about World War E, so World War Cyber. And that's what's going on right now. We're already living through this transition, going to the next monetary system and living through war. And it's only going to get worse. There's going to be more unrest, but it's okay, because challenge brings opportunity. Opportunity for those of us that are preparing, that are watching these videos, that are studying and taking this time to buy the insurance, to buy the skill building and up here, so that we have this skill forever. We have this ability to make this our greatest opportunity going forward. So that's the 7 stages of empire. This is the most important roadmap you have, showing you where every empire starts, where it ends up, and how this cycle just continues to repeat over and over again, and how you can profit from it. Thanks for joining us on this video today, guys. Really appreciate you. If you have any questions on this at all, please, in the comments below, please like and subscribe if you so choose. We would really appreciate it. Obviously helps the algorithm so we can put out more great content like this, and anything else you'd like to see, please put those comments below, and we'll make sure to do the videos on that in the future. We appreciate you guys. We really appreciate you spending your time and energy, because it is the most important asset we have. Talking about assets, time is the most important asset we have. We can buy anything else, we don't get more time. So I appreciate you spending your time with us, and we'll see you on the next one.